And I asked to see the budget just because it took a long time to get it formed, to get it up, to get it going. Some townships are not taking ownership for good reasons, for bad reasons. I hate to see it flounder, and I just wanted to take a look at the budget and see exactly where you're at and how bad things could be. Now, I received a letter in the mail asking for money. Did a mailing go out to all citizens asking for donations, or how's that going?
There is a fundraising committee that has been formed through NLREC. We're looking for ideas. We're really looking for big ideas, things that can really help close the gap of the deficit. One of the things was a mass mailing. So you hopefully did receive something to mail. And I will say, working with Suzanne over the summer, it was amazing to see the support of the community. I got to do the mail for a little bit and just opening the envelopes and seeing the amount of people that were financially supporting. Every dollar counts, so the mass mailing was an important thing. Businesses also were given sponsorship packets, which include different opportunities. You have the chance to sponsor a particular activity, so if you really like Touch a Truck or you really like the Dr. Seuss Breakfast, you can sponsor that and have your name attached to it directly. Or if you just feel like you want to support NLREC in general, you can do that as well. There's also opportunities. Suzanne's always looking for opportunities to have sponsorship on t-shirts, or we can put the name anywhere. If you're willing to give the money, we can find an opportunity to make it work for you. The ice cream social, we had a great partnership, and we were able to give out ice cream scoops with endorsements on there. So certainly the options are wide, but NLREC is definitely something that has served this community well and has brought this community together and is in dire straits right now for money.
Okay, and I thought you needed that time to give that little commercial.
Thank you.
Because I sincerely hope it comes together and money comes in and
Yes,
everything goes. Okay. That should have covered all the reports of the representatives. So now it's time to go. We're done with our agenda. So now it is time to go towards our public input session for items that are not on the agenda. And we'll do them in the order that we had received them. And once again, I remind you that it's 4 minutes that you are allowed to present, and Dr. Martell will be on track. And it looks like our first person to address us this evening will be Kelly Clark, and topic, lack of student discipline.
On Monday, September 21st, during my son's lunch, my son was threatened by another female student who was in his grade. She told him she was going to stab him in the stomach and twist it until his guts came out, and then stab him in his neck with a knife that she had in her locker. My son had reported it to one of the teachers during the lunch, and she had taken this female to the office. My son was then called into the office by Mr. Arts to be questioned on what took place. He was in return asked if he was picking on the student, and also asked the reason if he knew the reason why he was being asked. My son is Ed. He was told because he was known to do those things in the past. I would also like to note that the other student whom my son was sitting with heard the threat and the student was not called into the office to be questioned. As a parent, I'm not blind to know that my son is not perfect. I also know that I have never been told that my son has ever picked on anyone. And if he has, then I would like to know why I've never been notified. I am not okay with picking or bullying at all. I have zero tolerance of it. My other huge concern is that since my son is involved in the threat, I have not been notified. Had my son not come home and told me anything, I wouldn't know anything. I gave him till Tuesday to notify me, and I was not. So I emailed Mr. Arts on Wednesday, September 23rd, to ask why I wasn't notified that my son was part of a threat, and I'd like to know the discipline results. He replied back to me about an hour later and told me the issue was handled and resolved, and he apologized for not contacting me directly. That was an oversight on his behalf. I again sent an email back that night stating, "I understood you can't give me the confidential information, but I do know that the offense that did happen was a threat. According to the handbook, it's a level 3 misconduct. After the first offense, that's 3 to 5 days of in-school suspension." I questioned if the student's locker was even searched. I also stated that she must have only been talked to. Making a threat like that is not something to be taken lightly. It obviously was, because my son has several classes with the student, and she's been in all of them, and even in the lunch. I don't receive an email back Thursday, so I sent another email Thursday to Mr. Reese asking why the student had no disciplinary action against her. I also wanted to know if her locker was searched, since she said she was going to stab my son with the knife that she had in the locker. I stated the situation isn't to be taken lightly, and if I didn't receive a response, I was going to take action to go up the ladder to Dr. Bell. I then asked, I'd appreciate a response back by Friday morning. I forwarded all emails to Dr. Bell in detail what had taken place, and that if nothing was going to be done, I was going to the school board, news media, and police, and something was going to be done. I'm sorry, I'm losing my track. I also commented how my son and other students had lunch detention that Friday because they were talking and studying on a laugh and being a distraction. Don't get me wrong, I have no problem with my son being punished for a disturbance or not following direction, but I do see the picture is pretty clear. You can threaten to stab kids and twist their guts out and stab them in the neck with a knife they supposedly have in the locker, but you can't talk and study off. I questioned how he planned on handling this situation, and that he had till 1 o'clock that day to address it properly before I went further. Dr. Bell obviously forwarded my email to Mr. Arts because I never heard back from him, but did receive an email from Mr. Arts. I need to comment that it's pretty sad that I had to send an email to get a reply back from Mr. Arts, and never did get a reply back from Mr. Reese. Mr. Arts stated that they would never prohibit me from contacting the school board, media, or police. So I'm here today to let you know how poor the communication is and how disappointed I am with North Lebanon School District for not taking this matter serious and doing pretty much nothing on this matter. Mr. Arts had said he thoroughly investigated what had occurred with the student in question, and that he can assure me all comments made by the students, including my son, were taken very seriously. Well, my problem again is that I'm not sure how it's investigated when none of the other kids were questioned. My other complaint is if my son made any comments, why wasn't I notified about anything? Mr. Arts informed me that he met with the parents of the girl on Monday afternoon to further address the situation. However, he didn't go into detail, which I totally understand. I work in a school district and understand confidentiality, which also leads me to understand the education laws, even for the kids that have a disability. Mr. Arts stated he understood that I believe the girl's actions continued in a level 3 violation. However, extenuating circumstances were involved that dictated why a level 3 violation and corresponding level 3 consequences were not put into place. I contacted Mr. Love to let him know how disappointed I was in the way it was handled, and he had contacted Dr. Bell, and Dr. Bell told Mr. Love due to the circumstances some students were handled differently and they didn't do anything. And if they did anything, they could find itself in a lawsuit. I have attached the education laws. When you read them, you can see even for a student who has a disability, they can still receive consequence. It may look different than a regular ed student, but they still should receive consequence for this behavior. If this type of behavior is known to come the student, then my question is, what are you doing to make sure that the student's monitored? Why does she not have a TSS or an aide to follow her around if she can't control her thoughts and actions? Then how are you going to make sure she doesn't ever bring a knife, and why is she being mainstreamed? If she does have a disability, why is she mainstreamed into so many classes? Because she's in the majority of my son's classes. I ask that you please look thoroughly into this and stop allowing excuses for nothing to be done for things like this to be taken more seriously. I know that it's late for a consequence to be given to this student at this time, but I want this situation to be known, what's going on, and ask what are we going to do to stop allowing things like this to be pushed under the rug. This is not the only situation that has happened at our school that is pushed under the rug. I personally know of at least 2 others, and this is not okay. Thank you for your time and hearing what I have to say, and I ask you please review the situation and the education laws and make sure this doesn't get shoved under the rug again if something like this should happen again with any student.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark. Just let everyone know. I realized this was kind of long, but I know this was important to her, and she had a written statement. And it's our discretion to let people speak over the 4 minutes, so we did in this particular circumstance. Thank you.
As Dr. Martel said, thank you very much for coming forward to us to speak about this. All right, our second person will be Nathaniel Finken, who will be talking about the district Facebook page.
Good evening, Nathaniel Finken, 207 East Hazel Street. During the July board meeting, there was a discussion about the June 23rd post regarding our PSSA scores. And the Facebook post that was authored by the district referenced that it's not the best way to evaluate our school district's performance. And it was very helpful because it did direct us to a good place to look, www.paschoolperformance.org. That was the website that was referenced on the June 23rd post. And that is a tremendous referral because there is just so much helpful information on that site that helps us understand where we are and how we compare to other districts. The September 1st Facebook post referenced our dearth of advanced placement courses and referenced that, frankly, they're not as necessary as perhaps people thought in the past because there's college in the classroom and because colleges aren't as apt to accept AP test scores for college credit as maybe they used to be. And there was a reference to an article about our AP classes, in fact, obsolete. The October 6th Facebook post referenced or asked the question, are NL kids going to college, or are they better prepared for college or worse prepared relative to our peers? The answer was a resounding no in the article. It referenced first that we don't mandate that kids go to college, not that I don't know that any public school does, it's good to know. An article by Dr. Reich talking about how the escalating costs of higher education are making college less affordable for many people, and there's alternative means of education being sought, such as HAC or community college, etc. And then it referenced a study talking, I think it was mycollegereport.com, saying that 87% of our students reported themselves to be ready for college. So there's two things I want to bring to light with this. One, just specific to paschoolperformance.org, I decided to take Dr. Bell's advice and look into the website just to determine our readiness for college. How does NL compare? So there's a metric in there called the College Ready Benchmark. It is the SAT-ACT College Ready Benchmark, and it compares schools on a level playing field. Northern Lebanon's College Ready Benchmark is 53.87. To give you what does that mean? That means of the 181 people in grade 12, 39 of them got a score of 1550 or better on the SAT, or 22 on the ACT, which are average scores. Now, Mr. Houck made reference of, I think you used Hershey as the example of the school, NL kids deserve everything that the other students get. So if the Hershey kids are getting something or doing better, we should be striving to find out what they're doing so we can replicate it, because we want the best for our kids. Hershey had 281 kids in grade 12. 212 of them got better than 1550 or 22. Their benchmark is 100. Their percentage was 75.4%. Ours was 21.5. Palmyra had 175 kids in their grade 12. 103 of them beat the benchmark, which would be a 58.9. And I can go down the list. The moral of the story is that Northern Lebanon is the worst performing school of the suburban Lebanon County schools. Of the 5, we're the worst, and we're worse by a lot. Elko, if those of you are curious, had 183 kids in their class, 2 more than us, but had 51, surpassed the benchmark number. Their benchmark is 69.67. Reminder, ours is 53.87. That was the next lowest of the suburban schools. Lebanon, of course, which has socioeconomic issues that we don't have, scored very poorly, and that should come as no surprise. So if we are getting our kids ready for college, if we are doing all the right things, it certainly doesn't reflect in the benchmark exam colleges use to determine eligibility for acceptance. So this is not PSSA, this is not teaching to the test, this is not diminishing what this test means. This is the test that matters. And our kids don't do as well as kids in other districts. End of discussion with that. That needs to be addressed. There's no pushing it under the rug. It is what it is. It's reflective of bigger things that are going on. My remaining time, though, I want to talk about the mission statement that essentially was crafted.
You're at 4 minutes right now.
Thank you very much. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you for your comments. Our third person will be Rachel Sekelic, commenting upon conflict of interest.
Rachel Sekelic, 109 Blackberry Lane. I will keep this very quick and simple. I think we heard a lot in the beginning, it was too much. The fact that our district secretary notarized a political party form for board candidates is unexcusable. This board needs to take a serious look at the relationship between candidates and our superintendent. The forms were signed and notarized the same date as the school board meeting held at the middle school. I'm not sure why words like unethical or conflict of interest don't seem to mean anything to some of you, or why these three experienced candidates felt entitled is also unbelievable. But this is a very, very important election, and I think that the board needs to keep an eye on this because conflict of interest cannot just go unsightly. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Rachel. And our last person for this evening is Christy Gensler, speaking about fairness.
Hi, my name is Christy Gensler. I'm speaking on fairness, which, thank you, Mr. Houck, for bringing it to the attention of everybody this evening. And the statement at the very beginning is exactly what I was speaking of. We really need to come together as a community. It's time for everybody to take a look at what is going on here. We look like a circus. I come from a very professional background. I'm humiliated and embarrassed to attend here. My son has 2.5 years left in this school. I will fulfill his wishes to stay here. He loves his teachers. His teachers are doing very, very well and are good teachers, regardless of payment, which I prefer to pay, which I pay a lot in taxes, how I choose to live. But with that being said, I also pay somebody's salary. I also have the right to speak here. When I want to speak, I feel I have the right. Shouldn't be minuted times. This man up here had the right to say what he had to say. He took 14 minutes to say what he had to say. The last 2 weekends, or last 2 meetings, I sat here and listened to Mr. Lum go on how wonderful Mr. Bell is to him and his family. I applaud that. Good for you and your family. It's not working for everybody else. You're one out of how many people? We need to figure something out here, folks. Just because there's Christians coming up that want to be on the board and they're best friends with Lum and they hold quiet meetings after Lum talked to Bell, who's his buddy, and the whole family realm that goes on, we have others that are coming up on to be on this board here that aren't connected. And guess what? They're Christians too, if you care. I do. They read the same Bible. And sometimes I'm doubting which ones you are reading. Because if you read the same Bible I'm reading, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing to people. I couldn't be much clearer than what it is right at that. You really need to take a look in your heart if you're going to compare yourself to that. And the different things that you do. I'm not on the board. My wife, my husband isn't in the office as used. Maybe you got treated really well with your kids. My kid's doing it on his own. My kid is on honor roll ever since he's came into this school. Has never once been recognized. Not on no superior board out there at the front of the school coming in or anything. You know what? But it doesn't matter. What matters where he's going to go later and who he's going to provide for and how he's going to raise his children and his family. That's what's going to matter. And guess what? Some of the teachers here provided that for him. I might be out of minutes, but I do have a question on how the Tech School
You have 1 more minute to talk.
is supposed to, this building is supposed to run. What taxes? I mean, you go into all these meetings afterwards. I need to know too. I'm paying for this school to stay open, along with everybody else. How are we paying? All those cars, all those traffics coming onto our paved roads that we pay out of our tax dollars. We need to know this stuff. I'm a business person. I want to know. I think forms need to go out to the community for using our school. We need to know how our school's being used. We pay to have it here. And I don't know any of those. And I've been attending here to the meetings. So I'm sure it's amongst yous, but it's not amongst the people that are paying for it. And sometimes these laptops that yous give out, guess what? My kid comes home, tells me 45 minutes, he's sitting there because the teacher doesn't know what to teach him. It's not her fault because the system isn't working.
Thank you for your comments this evening, Christy. That would conclude our public input session. Any new business to be brought before the board by the board?
I just have a question. It's been a tradition to have a Christmas party on December 1st, our reorganization meeting, and I understand that it hasn't been well attended the last couple of years. And so it was canceled, and this is the first year that I actually am able to go because it's on a Tuesday night. And I was wondering if everyone would be okay with me trying to find another place. I know that you had to have your answer into the last place that we've had. And so would everybody be okay with finding another place? Some of you can be here.
I'm looking at, and I was the one that had canceled it because I had looked at administration was low attendance, board members, you yourself were not able to attend for whatever reason.
I teach piano on Thursday, that's why I asked for it.
That's correct. So we did switch it to a Tuesday that had to have the reorganizational meeting, but not the dinner. So by switching it to a Tuesday, now we're not able to, not everybody can attend because we moved it to a Tuesday. Do I think it's, I guess I'll use the word fair, to, I'm not sure that it's going to be a helpful thing. So what board members would attend, what board members wouldn't attend, what administration would be able to attend, which wouldn't attend. In looking at the last 2 years, it was pretty dismal. And in looking at this year, I'm trying to figure out would it be serving the board any better? Who would be going, who wouldn't be going, and quite frankly, I think you'd be better off sitting in a meeting and in workshops learning to get along better with a professional than you would be trying to celebrate and maybe alienating some people. That's my opinion.
Anybody else?
I think we should see what the new board wants to do.
I mean, you're asking an old board of which half of them probably could not even be there. I do worry, and I've had this discussion with you before too, inviting teachers, inviting administrators, what if they do show up, what if they don't show up? And how do we feel towards them if they do or if they don't? I think we're on sticky ground in some of these things.
How long has this been a tradition? It's been for 4 years since I've been on.
How long has it been a tradition? How long has the decline been?
Something that's been going on for a long time?
It has been going on ever since I've been there.
I think it's something that we should continue just because things have been difficult in the last couple of years. I don't think that's something that we need to stop just because maybe some people couldn't go. I know I couldn't go for the last 2 years because of piano lessons, and then the year before that my husband was out of town, and I have 4 kids. So, you know, I guess if people don't want to go, and nobody has ever been required to go in the last.
That is correct. You were not able to go last year. Amy, I don't know, for whatever reason, I do not believe that you were there.
Yeah, I think still we give the opportunity to the new board.
And that doesn't require anybody to go. Nobody's ever been required to go. Administration either. So I guess I just feel like for one person to make that decision for everybody else when it's been a tradition for years and years, I think that it's something that we should continue to do.
The rest of the board feels fine with it, the new board that comes in, you may, then
Might
you
only be
also have to start worrying about Mr. Sunshine creeping in there too. I'm just cautioning you to beware that you have one of the most best hearts on this board, that you want to do things, you want to give, you're quick with your thank yous and this and that. I just want you to be careful with what you do, that you're not stepping too far into grounds that you shouldn't be.
If it's, how many years have they done it, Dr. Bell?
It's been at least ever since I've been on the board.
The 12 years?
And did we ever talk shop? Did we not talk shop? Should we, shouldn't we have? Should we all be written up in this because we're all in this together? I don't know.
So I'm just saying.
It's a very slow watch out.
I need this. Hello?
And I don't think you were there, Glenn, last year either.
Yes, I was there. I've been there every year. And I have never talked shop. To me, that the whole idea of that was not a celebration of, aha, we won and we're going to celebrate and rub it in your nose. That was never, because I've been on the opposite side for years and I've always proudly gone to that as part of being a board member, to talk and just kind of relax and get to know the board members as family members, and just get to know them as a human being. It's never, and I don't know where this idea that somehow this celebration is going to be some kind of a celebration and that people wouldn't want to go to that. This is more, we are now a new board, we've reorganized, let's now come together and get to know each other on a personal level, not talk shop, talk about families, grandkids, things like that, to get to know the core of who the people are on the board. It isn't, again, I cannot, and I've sat at different tables, and I have not heard people talk about issues on the board. The only thing that I've ever heard is reminiscing. Remember way back when I was first on the board, and you were, that kind of thing. But it was never, well, let's, now we've got this meeting, so I don't really see, and I would think that the solicitor or somebody would have shot out and said, hey, this meeting is a sunshine violation. The only suggestion I would make is that if we have it, that there be assigned seats. And I know that you say, well, we're not kindergarten now, maybe second grade, but not second. But the reason for that is that what I've seen in the past is that all of the administrators are comfortable with the people that they know. So they sit with the administrators, and then all of the board members sit with the board members that they know, and really to make this a uniting type of an activity would actually get people out of their comfort zone to talk to people that they wouldn't normally talk to, and have an exchange. If you're sitting down and now you're talking to, at a casual dinner, and you're talking to one of the principals, you're getting to know him or her as who they are as a person, what their likes and dislikes are, those types of things. Now you get a connection that you wouldn't normally get at a meeting like this. So I don't see it as something that necessarily would be divisive. I think if it's divisive, it's because the people that are attending want to make it divisive or don't want to attend and make it divisive. But its intent and my past experience with it has not been a divisive. As I've gone, people know me for a long time, I've not always been on the right side of the board, so to speak. So I go and I'm still welcome. I still engage in conversation. I want to know, whether we disagree here doesn't make you a bad person. And I still want to know about your family. I still want to know, about your life and everything else, and genuinely care about that. So I think from that perspective, and I'm probably over my 5 minutes, or 4 minutes. So I'll.
It was about 14, I think is what I heard.
But I think that the reason for that originally and its intent was good, to bring the board together after a vote that may have been decisive, and bring everybody together to help them to know each other. So I don't personally see it as an issue, but if you want to let that to the board.
And I have gone all years, I believe, except for one year I was not able to go. I enjoyed it. I don't know if people saw me coming because I don't think I sat with the same person twice. Maybe they quickly filled up the chairs because they didn't want to sit next to me. I enjoyed myself. I did not talk shop. You were very fond of saying a lot of us are very fond of saying that. What is the community perception of us? What are they doing? What are they? So that's why I'm throwing this out, that somebody may look at you and say, hey, yeah, Glenn, is that what you're doing? But is that really what you're doing?
I'm not so worried about a reorganization meeting where our significant others are present along with all administration. I would be more concerned over our snack chats afterwards. If we're going to really start talking about sunshine law and concerns about what the public perception is, let's start talking about that room over there.
And that's a fair case too, and sometimes we have to watch ourselves and, whoa, we shouldn't be talking that. Let's go back and say, how was your church service on Sunday? And it is something that anywhere that we get together, I don't care if you're sitting at a football game, we've got to be careful what we do.
And I would just say, I mean, I may not be there next month to make the decision. I say we let the new board make the decision.
I guess I think the 2 years I was able to go, I really enjoyed it, and I did not sit with people I knew, and I got to know people in a different way.
Were you forced to sit with me one year?
I agree with you.
And I really, to me, it was a really special time. And so that's why I requested this year for it to be moved from Thursday to Tuesday so that I could go, because I teach piano on Thursday nights, and I was very excited that, and my husband's going to be in town, we're going. And then to find out that it was canceled. So I guess I would just like to see us schedule it and do it and make that a time of enjoying getting to know each other on a different level and not talking shop. I don't think anybody talked shop, that at least the 2 years I was there. I don't remember conversations such as that, especially with spouses sitting there. We're just all talking about life. So I just think it's a really good thing, and I don't think it's something that we should stop.
And I do want to say, for the community's benefit, we paid for it, okay? The school was not in any way, shape, or form. We paid for our individual tickets. So it was not a budget item that, just thought I should say that because it can get a little pricey, and we wouldn't do that to the district.
I agree with Glenn and Rachel, and Glenn, I even like your idea of assigned seats, because generally people don't want to sit beside me, so this way I'm guaranteed that.
I'm satisfied, Dave.
But I remember my first year on the board, and I really enjoyed it, and we had contested elections. There was 5-4 for president and vice president, and we went to the dinner, and the 5 people that won and got their way didn't sit in one quarter of the room, and the 4, it was like, by the time you got there, it was over and done with, and we were a united board again. And that's one thing I really like about this board. We may disagree on issues, but the next issue we move on, and there's no grudges. It's not like Washington D.C. or anything like that. And I really did enjoy, especially the early years where I didn't know the administrators, and when you do get to sit with somebody different. And I think for the new board members coming on, and I think the public has a high expectations of what you guys are going to do as a board. And for that opportunity to sit down in an evening without the radio or the newspaper there, just to get to know their family and those kind of things like that is a good thing. So I support that. My however is, I just got an invitation to work. That's our corporate week, bringing in our corporate executives and things like that. So I will be at a dinner at the National Civil War Museum that night, and won't be able to attend. So
I guess that's not one of the places that we should try to get.
I don't know how big it is. That would be great, because then maybe I could do one of those
pop in. Well, I do think that if we're going to do it, that's why I brought it up tonight instead of waiting till after the election. I do think we should be trying to find a place, because
And part of it was that place where we have been going needed an answer.
Right, and I knew
So
that.
I had to make a choice back when, yes, we're friendly when we get out, but I also had my ear to the ground, and I heard a lot of things from a lot of different people, and I thought, I don't know who's going to want to have us, because we were a little bit of an explosive group at that time.
I think people would love to have us. That's right.
I've got a big barn you
All right,
can
so
go
I
to.
will check into some places, and
Do that, make sure you're elected first, but,
that's true. But we still could totally get a place, and then that way, it's, there's a place that's reserved.
and I said, I always enjoyed it. I needed an answer early in the year, and I believe that was the answer that I had to give at that time. So I did not, it's not for me to go ahead and make arrangements here at the end of the year, so, Godspeed, that's not a bad thing for you to be doing. Like I said, just with cautionary things placed. Just watch what you're doing. And Amy brought up a very good point, too. I did get preliminary results back from our self-board assessment. I don't have the final results yet, and quite frankly, the more things we could do together as a board and smile at each other might be a good thing. And there's definitely workshops that are geared for some of the key areas where it looks like we are not quite where we should be, and not that PSBA is the end-all wonderful thing. They do have workshops specifically tailored to some of the areas where I think y'all better jump in and start moving and thinking and doing something about it.
See, when are those results?
They will be officially sent to me, I believe it's on the 19th. All I have is the preliminary assessment where you were giving the numbers, but not with the comments. Anything else on your new business? And thank you, Rachel, for bringing that up. Really. Oh, yes, there will be an executive committee meeting of management following this meeting. Anything else that needs to be brought before the board?
Just a reminder that next month, the committee meeting will be on Monday.
But that next month, the committee meeting will be on Monday due to the election, so people don't show up here. So it's November 2nd at 7.
Which has totally messed up the church meeting for me.
Will the solicitor be here?
It would be my intent to have the solicitor here. I did discuss with Dr. Bell. I believe it's more important for the solicitor to be at our committee meetings where we're discussing things, because we should have our minds made up relatively so before we get to the actual board meeting.
And the reason I ask is he was here for free for 4 meetings, and that's up now, and that's why I ask. I have no problems with it being on. I just want to make sure if we want to
I
do
think
it
it's
here.
been very helpful.
I think it's been very helpful having him here and committee meeting rather than board meeting.
And executive sessions.
And yes, most definitely executive sessions, which we would try to have on the committee night instead, so that we can double dip on his services.
Is he charged by the hour if he shows up?
I believe so.
So it's 190 an hour?
$190 an hour plus
I'm not
mileage?
sure. Was it 180, 190? We budgeted the pace
We did put it in our budget.
for.
We paid $30,000 last year, and we never saw him the other meeting. So, just, I'd like to see him if we're going to pay him that much.
Well, he was working during that 30,000, he just wasn't sitting at our
Right. But I think it's important if he's working for us,
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking to him.
I, for one, don't think it's necessary for him to be here. Not a surprise?
Yeah.
No, when I was talking to him, he didn't feel it was necessary either, and so he told me that last meeting, so.
He doesn't feel we're that bad.
Huh?
He doesn't feel we're that bad.
He's been around a while.
It
We
is-
went several years. My first couple years we were on the board. The first couple of years we had an attorney here.
Yeah.
Then we didn't have an attorney for several years. And I guess listening to him talk, it's like kind of knew where he was coming from and what they would hope for as a
He has
team.
seen the solicitor, there again, we think we're horrible, think we're bad, we think we're doing. You guys ain't seen nothing, really.
Same old for these attorneys. When they come here, they hear what you say, they hear this in other districts, the same same stuff, just different name, different school district, so it isn't new for them at all.
But I do wholeheartedly agree, when we're discussing and committee nights, I would like him to be here. I don't think we need to take a vote on that, it's just,
I think if he can answer questions while he's here, then he's not answering questions when he's not here. And so, and then we're hearing it straight from his mouth. We're seeing him, we're able to ask. It just makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I guess if Jonestown Borough has a solicitor there at every meeting, it seems like the North Lebanon board ought to, which is.
anything else new business-wise? Have we exhausted topics that we needed to cover? Please look at the dates to remember down there, as Glenn had already brought up. Please note that we're meeting Monday night, not Tuesday, not in our committee meetings. Other than that, you can read it, the rest of it yourself. I think we should be ready to adjourn. Okay, meeting's adjourned.